Welcome to Something to Say, where we bring voices from diverse backgrounds who will share their unique stories and perspectives on finding their passion and provide insights on how you can find yours. Join us as host Greg DeShields guides us through this enlightening journey.
Welcome to episode 5 of Something to Say, a unique platform that amplifies the voices of individuals from various backgrounds sharing their passion. I'm Greg DeShields, the host, and I am thrilled to bring you another episode of Something to Say. We appreciate you joining us today, but before we dive into our conversation with our guests, I'd like to share just 2 quick announcements. First, to get to know us better, some of you may know that Mohammed Adnan has joined us managing the post-production for Something to Say. Well, if you did not know, he's from Punjab, Pakistan, which makes it interesting when we're sharing information to each other. However, he is a fantastic post-production person, and you'll certainly see more of his creative contribution as we go forward. Also, we have 2 upcoming podcasts. Alex Strayas, who is an autistic traveler, will be one of our upcoming podcasts, as well as Rosemarie Rossetti. She'll speak about the benefits of disability and inclusion. But we have many more podcasts that are scheduled, so please watch for more information as we distribute it through our website. But today we're really excited to welcome Bruce Jordan. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited to talk to Bruce because it's not often that I get a chance to just chat with a hotel person. So thanks for joining us. He's the managing partner of Hotel Guest Management. He oversees product development, revenue generation, and marketing. His hotel revenue expertise and specialty lies in reviving failing properties and underperforming hotel assets. Bruce is a former IHG corporate head and has over 20 years of hotel experience working for top brands and franchises such as Wyndham, Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, and more. He has led over 30 hotels and overseen 3 hotel renovations, also managing $1 billion in assets and over $300 million in revenue. During his career, Bruce was given the enormous task of saving one of the worst hotels in Kissimmee, Florida, a 400-room hotel that was infested with drugs and prostitution and, quite honestly, was facing foreclosure. In 5 months, the hotel turned around, taking it from a 2.8 to a 3.8 review score and taking the revenue numbers from 600,000 to 300,000 in just 1 month. So, congratulations. And as a result of saving the hotel, Bruce was bestowed the title of the Michael Jordan MJ of hotels. Big shout out to you for that. Bruce also is the host of the hit hotel competition review show, Hotel Management Do's and Don'ts, The Hotel Insider, and True Hotel Leaders, which is one of the top 30 podcasts since 2021 through 2023. And then finally, Bruce is one of the top 50 powerful people in the US hospitality industry and has been rated as such since 2021 through 2023. And that's according to the International Hospitality Institute. But I'm just going to give a shout out and say, I believe he is a 100%. So let me just say, I am so excited to talk with you, Bruce. I want to dive into a conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, as I begin, one thing I've said, and I just need to reiterate it, I began my career in the hospitality industry. I went to Johnson& Wales and went into a management training program with Hyatt Hotels at the Hyatt Regency Atlanta. And I've always had a love affair with hotels. And it's kind of weird, but, whatever city I'm in, I try to take a picture in front of the name of the hotel. But I'm anxious to engage in our conversation today because I think there's probably a lot of similarity in our perspectives, and you certainly have an incredible career in working in the hotel industry.
Thank you. Thank you. If you started off in a Hyatt, that means you were trained very well. The Hyatt has an amazing training program.
As I think back on my time in that management training program, and it was at the Hyatt Regency Atlanta, and I tell everyone I was born into the industry in a John Portman designed hotel, right? And this
Mhm.
idea of going into something that was so historical and something that architecturally was so dazzling and amazing was probably the best way to kind of get introduced into the industry. But we know that you are one of the most influential people in this hotel industry, and you also are an author of a book, which is the Hotel Revenue Bible, which we will talk about that as we go forward. But I do want to start with allowing our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So, here on Something to Say, we typically will ask three get to know you questions. So, we want to get a little bit more insight from you. So, I'll start with the first question. You'll give us the answer, and we'll kind of work our way through. All right. So, your first question, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
It would definitely be Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was the richest man that ever existed. He was a king, and it was said that when he would travel, he would cause depressions and cause a depression and make the currency go down wherever he travels to because he would give away so much gold. So the rate of gold will go down because he had so much gold that he could just give it away.
Oh, wow. You
Yeah.
sound like an interesting person. All right. Well, that's a first for us, but we will continue to keep count because we may get someone else who does a shout out to him. All right. So here's your second question. If you had to delete all but three apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep?
The first one I would keep is YouTube. And the reason why I would keep YouTube is because we're getting now in this day and age, we're getting to the point that we want to listen to who we want to listen to. We no longer want things being dictated to us or being forced to watch something because there's nothing on. With YouTube, I can watch anything I want to watch. I can research anything I want to research, and I can still upload my stuff. So that always helps.
Wow.
The second one is Audible. Audible, I have like over a couple of hundred books on Audible. I
Mhm.
don't have a whole lot of time to read except when I'm on a plane. So when I'm driving, I listen to Audible. Or
Uh,
when I'm walking or jogging, I listen to Audible because
okay.
I just don't have time to just sit down and read. So Audible works very, very well for me.
Hmm. All right. So one more, and then we'll move on to a little bit more of a conversation around your book. But if you had a theme song, what would it be?
It would definitely be "Eye of the Tiger" from Rocky, and the reason why is just, like, the words from that song is, like, how my life came to be. Like, I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, and I had to rise to the top of all of that, and still had to make it. I had to do it one punch at a time and make it through, so that's why I love that song, "Eye of the Tiger."
But I did want to talk about the fact that you also have become an author, and congrats to that. So, your book, which is the Hotel Revenue Bible, is something that I'd love to dive into. But first, can you talk about what really inspired you to become an author?
Well, I love the hotel industry, and what I was finding is that people didn't want to sit down and watch 400 videos on YouTube that I have, and they would always ask me questions. Like I get a lot of questions in the comments,
Mm,
and I said, if I could just answer all of these at one time, it'll probably be a little bit easier for my audience to digest.
mm,
And the other thing is that most people in the hotel industry they focus on expenses and they know very little about revenue as a whole. So as soon as something happens to an OTA or something happens to their GDS or they lose a whole group, the first thing they do is they start looking at expenses. And of course, one of those major expenses is payroll. And payroll is usually the last thing that I cut because if I cut payroll, I cut service.
yeah.
And the guest is coming there for service, so I can't give them something if I don't have it. So it was just a downward spiral when it comes to hotels. Them cutting payroll and then the guests getting frustrated, leaving bad reviews, and it devaluate their property. So I said, if I could just show everybody how I make the revenue portion of it, how to group everything together, it'd be much easier for them to digest, and they get to stay in business.
So, more to the idea of being a writer. How do you manage writer's block or some form of a creative slump? I can't imagine that this book was just an easy write. At some point in time, you probably sat there and said, I have no idea what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I realized that I wrote the same thing 3 times, and it wasn't until I edited, like, I wrote that already someplace else, like, how did that end up here? But what writer's block really is that your brain is having a hard time trying to figure out if this belongs inside of the book.
Hmm.
Your subconscious is conflicting with your conscious. So the first thing I do is I readdress the issue that I'm writing, and I try to make sure, like, does this really belong in this chapter, or should I put this in a separate chapter, or should I just leave it out of the book
Hmm.
completely? So that's how I usually handle writer's block. I usually just double check to make sure this will be important to the reader, and then I either move forward. I just say, you know what, I'm not going to put this in the book. This will be in the lost revenue scrolls. It'll be in book two.
It's interesting. I've been writing a blog lately, and what I've also found is sometimes you go through the process of writing something, and it's not necessarily that you get a block, but then you also look at something that you wrote. Like you said, in some cases, you've written something three times. How there are times once you've done the actual narrative that you could maybe take a piece where it was in one part and move it somewhere else, and it actually sounds better in another place. And where you ultimately had it. So I could see that idea of moving around content, or at least making deeper observation of content, can get you past some kind of block. All right, so here is one that I think a lot of people would be quite anxious to learn, given the kind of book that you have. So, what's the weirdest thing you've ever had to research for your book?
Surprisingly, it was backlinks. For those who don't know what backlinks are,
I was hoping you'd say that because
backlinks is when your website links to another website. For instance, when you put your website on Facebook, Google sees that your website is on Facebook and gives your website a higher ranking to make it a little bit more relevant. Back in the day, people used to create all of these trash websites just to make them backlink to each other, like
Hmm.
different directories, like Yellow Book and so on and so forth, or associations. So Google caught wind of that. So what they did was like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make backlink tiers. So if your backlink is coming from YouTube or Facebook, that's like a tier one backlink. If it's coming from maybe Spotify, that's like a tier two. And then if it's coming from some website that nobody's ever heard of, that's like a tier three, which is like garbage. Okay. So the last thing you want is a bunch of backlinks from tier three because it won't give you the boost that you're looking for. So I had to research this. And at the time I've heard of tier one and tier two, but I didn't know about tier three because I never used it. So after researching all this stuff, I said, "Man, I don't know if I want to put this in a book because I don't want to confuse anybody when it comes to digital marketing."
No. Okay. Wow. So the first is, what is the most significant trend or development that you see that's happening in the hospitality industry now, or specifically in the hotel industry?
Surprisingly, it's something that I thought I would never see is staycations. Like people
Oh.
go to a hotel that's maybe 5 minutes away from their house and just stay there. They're just so tired of their house that they want to stay someplace else for one night. So, they still got two, $3,000 of rent to pay, and then they're going to pay another $300 for one night at this hotel where they can just drink all they want, party all they want, enjoy the pool, and just relax and go home the next day. So I never thought that would be a trend because most people usually go away to another hotel
Hmm.
uh, to do all of that, and of course enjoy the nightlife. But as I started looking into it, I say like this makes sense. Like sometimes you just want to get out of the house, but I never thought that that trend will take to the full effect as I've seen today.
But I know that over the years, the hotel industry has built the product to be more accommodating to the lifestyle of the consumer.
Mhm.
So, given that there is this movement or trend towards staycation, does that mean that there's some additional enhancements that may need to be made in properties to make them more comfortable or more home-like for a consumer?
Yeah, what I notice is that it really doesn't take off with economy hotels. You're not going to leave your house and go staycation at the econo lodge. So it's just not going to happen. So the one thing that you want to make sure is you want to have either big or bigger TVs that you will have in your house. So you don't want to have like a 38-inch or a 43-inch TV. You want to be 55, 65, even 70 if you can. The next thing that you want to have is you want to make sure you have all the amenities at your property, especially food and beverage. And it's a good idea to make a local dish and name it a local dish so people feel like they're literally at home, something that they will cook inside their house, but it's just unique. It has a different flavor. The drink, have a special local drink.
Mm,
Those two or three things tend to work pretty well.
wow, very cool. I've stayed at jewelry hotels in the Midwest,
Mhm.
and I have to say their dinner offering is amazing. The fact that they offer a hot meal as well as complimentary cocktails is pretty impressive as a brand. And whether it's a staycation or a long travel to conduct business, that's a great brand. So
Oh yeah, I love the dress. I stayed at a couple myself, and their breakfast, the way they have everything laid out, it's literally like a real cafeteria in there. Like it's a real dining experience. It's not like here, take your breakfast or take your dinner and then go to your room. Like no, they want you to enjoy yourself while you're there.
wow. See, this is a challenge, Bruce. I have 25 minutes, and I knew that I was going to want to talk to you about a million things. But so here's the next question. Can you discuss a common misconception that you'd like to clear up about the industry?
The hotel keys, like people, a lot of people think just because there's no physical key that the hotel, they don't want their keys back. But a lot has changed over the years, and those keys are expensive now. Those keys used to be like 10 cents, 15 cents. You used to be able to get a sponsor and they give it to you for free just as long as you promote their product, whatever. But now those keys with the new locks that are coming out now with the chips in them, those keys are like a dollar each.
Wow.
So, like, if you have 1,000 keys and lose 1,000 keys, that hotel just lost $1,000.
Wow.
So they definitely want their keys back. If you want to keep your rates low, make sure you turn in those keys back and don't get two keys. If you don't need two keys, don't get two keys.
I feel bad. On my refrigerator, I have, all sorts of memorabilia from traveling, and a lot of them are hotel keys. We put a magnet on it, we put it on our refrigerator.
I'm
Maybe
glad you told me. What's your address? We're coming to it right now.
Hey, I've talked a lot with individuals in the industry. You're actually the second person who had IHG affiliation that we spoke to. But the one thing I wanted to ask you is, can you highlight some specific innovation or breakthrough that you find that's uniquely exciting for our industry?
Actually, it's going to be housekeeping robots. Um, the industry is finding a hard time finding housekeepers, and just to get good ones, the labor cost is increasing. So they're experimenting with different things to try to alleviate that cost. And one of them is robots. So you're going to see they're going to make a major investment. It's going to start up with like mop vacs.
Mhm,
It's going to be like the iRobot, but a commercial version of it.
mhm.
They're already experimenting with that. And then I'll probably say within the next 5 years, you're going to see the housekeeping job being reduced drastically because those robots are going to hit the market, and hotels are going to have to do what they got to do to control their costs, and most importantly to control the demand, because like I said, it's hard to find housekeepers, so there's pretty much no other alternative for them to get something a little bit more robotic.
But you think we've gone over that hurdle of where the customer comes in and they're challenged with the integration of it, that they now have become pretty much um, aware of what it is and how to kind of use it.
I think we're at 50-50.
Okay.
The sad part is like it doesn't play out in the mind of the franchise or the hotel owner the way it plays out in the field. So I was just recently in Las Vegas and I was trying to check in, and I actually use automated check-in. Like I implemented automated check-in or self check-in, and it was the complete opposite of what I was used to or what I have seen in other properties.
Mhm.
So I want to go check in. They make you sign up for a rewards program, which I didn't want to do because I would never stay at the hotel again. I was like forced to stay there because of the conference. There's no way I'll stay at the hotel again. And then they make you install an app. So if you don't have any space on your phone, you have to figure out what you want to delete
Mm,
to install this app so you can check in.
mm,
They make keys for you instead of using your phone. So you're literally going to the front desk to download this app just for them to make keys. The key should be your phone.
mm.
So it was completely backwards. I kind of made things harder versus easier, which pretty much made me have to go to the front desk anyway. So it kind of defeated the purpose of that whole process. Yeah.
Well, I did want to move into just some general discussion, but before we talk about the book, I want to go back and talk about the hotel in Florida.
Mhm.
So clearly, it had some incredible challenges that it was faced with. So, how did you do it? I mean, 5 months, that's a lot, did you demolish it and build a new hotel, or did you like, how would you make such a dramatic transformation? Because I could imagine, not just staff, but customers and the location, like, all of these factors. How would you be able to turn them around in such a positive way and also to increase revenue in just such a short period of time?
Yeah, taking a hotel from 60,000 to almost $400,000 a month is definitely not easy. You get a lot of backlash from the current staff. So that was the first part is making sure that I was able to get a team that was ready to handle the task to come. And a lot of times you can't use the current staff there because they believe that everything was fine and everything was good before you got there. Why would you want to change perfection? Even though they had a 2.8 review score, I'm not sure how that's considered perfection,
Right.
but they but they didn't want to change. So you will go and inspect the room, and they'll say, "Hey, this room is clean." You inspect the room, and it looks like a tornado just hit it. So you definitely have to weed out the staff members first. The second thing was the actual type of guest. Um, of course, it was extended stay. Not all extended stay is bad, but this particular type of extended stay wasn't the type of extended stay that you would get from home with suites. I think that's the best way to put
Right.
it. So and then they were times they just didn't want to pay. So you would end up evicting them. So because they've been there for so long. So I had to process a lot of evictions. And
Wow.
then finally I had to adjust the curb appeal and the level of service that they were used to receiving. I mean, at one point in time at this hotel, there was a bulletproof glass all around the front desk. Yeah, it was that bad. And of course, as things changed, that came down, finishing up the renovation. And next thing we're back in business. We're ready to go.
Wow. Well, we definitely wanted you to be on our show because of the launch of your book, The Hotel Revenue Bible. So I've looked through, you've got what I would say are some very exciting chapters, but if you're not a hotel revenue minded person, you might say, really? I know there's a section that covers digital marketing. I wanted to
Mhm.
talk about social media marketing, at least within the book. But before you talk about that, can you let us know where we could get the book and all the kind of stuff that I know you want to be able to do a shout out about?
Oh yeah, you can go to the Hotel Revenue Bible. It's also available on besthotelbooks.com and it's on Amazon. So
Terrific. So this idea of digital marketing, I'm sorry, social media marketing. Can you give us a sense of like how that really works? Like, where is the best place to market from a social media perspective when you think of a hotel?
my number one is YouTube. And
Okay.
the reason why it's YouTube is because YouTube is the number two search engine in the world. Google's number one, YouTube's number two. So people go to YouTube to get a visual of what your hotel really looks like. So if you're not on YouTube and someone else is, that means you're potentially giving your business to someone else that's
Mhm.
actually on YouTube. A lot of hotels are underrepresented on YouTube. You want at least, five, if you're a small hotel, five videos. If you're a bigger hotel, 10 to 15 because there's so many different things that they're looking for. Like they could be looking for a hotel for their wedding. If you don't have a video that you're not going to show up. They could be looking for a hotel for funerals. If you don't have a video of that, then you're not going to show up. So there's just so many different
Mhm.
our meetings. They could be looking for a event or convention space.
Mhm.
You don't have a video for it, you're not going to show up. It's Google at the end of the day. So that's my number one is YouTube. I always make sure that I'm well represented on YouTube, and I want to try to conquer the market to where no other hotel shows up except me.
So I was recently told that if you do upload on YouTube, you need to upload multiple videos so that the auto next goes to your property as opposed to dropping in another video or subject.
Correct, correct. YouTube also have something called suggested videos.
Okay.
So if you don't have anything for them to suggest, they're going to suggest your competition.
Uh, uh,
So that's the last thing that you want. So you want to start off with 5 videos before you even get started. You don't want to just do one video and say, "Hey, I'm on YouTube. See you later."
wow. Well, clearly there are some nuggets that you've already shared. I thank you for doing that. I encourage everyone to either go online or visit their local bookstore and get the Hotel Revenue Bible. But our podcast is entitled Something to Say. So we always, as a way of kind of concluding our conversation, is to ask you, what do you have to say? And also, how does the passion of what you do really serve as a way of inspiring you each day?
Well, if it wasn't for the hotel industry, I probably wouldn't even be here. I especially younger, I worked multiple jobs, and the hotel industry is the only thing that really felt like home. It's something that I grew up in very fast. My career expanded very fast, and I said, you know what? I felt like, especially when it comes to minorities and people of color, I felt like no matter where we went, we were underrepresented. Like I couldn't find a show with someone that looks like in the hotel industry.
Mm,
Um, Especially like at the executive level, I
mm,
you don't see a lot of people that look like us.
mm,
So I say if you have to be the change that you want to see.
mm,
So that's how I got inspired to do what I do because at the end of the day, at the hotel industry, 55% ownership of hotels are minorities. And minorities, we make up about 70% of the workforce for hotels. So I just couldn't, the numbers didn't make any sense to me. Like,
mhm.
how can these numbers be so high, but people that look like us, you don't see them in the spotlight. So that's what I didn't understand.
Well, you certainly represent the African American community as well as hospitality community in an amazing way. You've got an incredible career and you've had some fantastic accomplishments. I'm thrilled that you were able to join us today and share your passion as well as your insights. And once again, I have to say, you gave some really good tidbits from your book. So we appreciate you for doing that with us today. So, Bruce, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for having me. It was great being on the show because I definitely had something to say.
So, for listeners, I'd like to thank you for joining another episode of Something to Say. We ask you to stay tuned for some of our upcoming inspiring conversations from voices of individuals that will share their individual passion and how it inspires them in terms of doing what they do. So, until next time, this has been Greg DeShields. Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to Something to Say. We trust you found some valuable insights and takeaways that can help you find your passion. Don't miss out on future episodes. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your preferred platform. We value your feedback and suggestions, so let us know how we can serve you better. Keep the conversation going and stay inspired until we meet again. Take care and happy listening.